Hi, welcome to Money Talks. I'm Maddy Shirer.
And I'm Emily Faustino.
We're going to be talking about the Kellogg's 2030 Equity Project and some background on the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. It was formed by Will Keith Kellogg in the 1930s to support children, families, and communities as they strengthen and create conditions that propel vulnerable children to achieve success as individuals and as contributors to the larger community and society. And for their 90th anniversary, they announced that they're going to start a $90 million project to try and help with different challenges such as education and food security and racial injustice.
WK Kellogg Foundation donated this $90 million to the Racial Equity 2030 Challenge, which is where in 2030, for the WK Kellogg's 100th anniversary, they're hoping that they will be able to bring racial equity and equality and justice to those who have not experienced it at the moment. And with those $90 million, they're going to be dividing it up into multiple grants and give it to different groups. There's going to be several $1 million planning grants for multiple groups who sign up and participate and try and prove that what they're going to do for our society will be what brings equity into our future. And then with that winner, they will be giving another like $20 million and $10 million grant in order to progress their goals. And by 2030, will hopefully succeed and change our society. The organization is hoping to find groups that embrace and reflect the values of racial equity and justice in order to promote their work. So the impact of this donation is that the US GDP will increase by $80 trillion by closing earning gaps between races and genders, as well as keep 200 million children in schools and provide and improve their quality and security of their housing. In order to be accepted as an organization into the Racial Equity 2030 Challenge, they will propose the idea, and then you'll go through many phases of registration, deadlines, but the most insightful thing that we found was the peer-to-peer review, where even if you don't make it to the final round of receiving these grants, you're still gonna be impacted by learn from other groups what they're doing and how you can improve within your own group.
Which I think is good, and that's a way an organization can improve themselves is constructive criticism, things that they could change to be more efficient and spread their message. So the project is called the Kellogg's Equity Challenge, and there's a little bit of a difference that some people may not realize with equity and equality. So equality is defined as treating everyone the same and giving everyone access to the same opportunities, while equity is a proportional representation of different things like class, gender, race.
For example, tax. Like if we were to tax people who made a higher income and lowered the tax on people who make a less income, that would improve the equity because they're being proportionally taxed upon what they make rather than what the government needs. A major question we have and we've received review and feedback on is that money can improve the lives of minorities, but will that really stop prejudice or hate from other groups of people? I personally think that with that money, if there's education improvements in places where people are grown up and influenced by their families with this prejudice and hate, that the education will also bring them to light as well as will bring the minorities into a higher standing.
I felt like I was pretty aware of the world and different issues, and I think this class has just brought to light so many more things that I didn't know. It was never just brought up the news or anything, and especially going to college and branching out from your hometown and like what you grew up with. You meet all kinds of new people and get new perspectives, and I think that's really important to kind of change how people think for the future and not just rely on what they've grown up with and like their surroundings that they're comfortable with. And some things that you can do as students at Ohio State is the OSU College Mentors for Kids. And if you're interested in getting involved with that, it's CMFK_OSU on Instagram, and you can find out more information there on ways that you can help this issue in your own community.
That club is a great group because you'll be able to, as students, being able to connect to my community through this club is going to be an amazing opportunity where I meet kids, I help influence them, I can be their best friend and also their mentor and an educator kind of thing, and just influence our society through little acts of kindness. So the virtual donations, which is on your Grubhub, and that gives back to the homeless and anyone who signs up through the OSU program kind of thing, to give back, to give food, kind of help the community around us too. One of the things that Deb Beauvoir had said is that otherness is a fundamental category of human thought. We're trained to connect, like the moon versus the sun and pizza versus pasta, but I think when it comes to races and economic status and who we are as people, we'll notice those differences, but it's so crucial that we don't judge others.
I feel like if you don't let the differences become an issue,
Yes.
like you might like acknowledge them, but you still find a way to have respect for that person, appreciating your differences and finding a way to get along.
So like there's a saying that money has a strong influence on people's actions and decisions in politics especially.
And maybe like could create a chain reaction, like where other companies kind of step up and want to make the change as well and be a part of the change. My grandparents always say, like, we're going to be the generation, they think we're going to be the generation that finally takes care of all the issues that they've been fighting for since they were our age.
This podcast kind of connects to our diary of systemic injustices, where even though it may not be talking about a specific form of injustice that's been going on, it's going to be what improves upon all these injustices that we're seeing and that we've written about for the past couple weeks, where it's going to stand out and make a difference. Rather than just talking about it, it's important to make that action and take that next step.
It's not, like you said, it's not just one injustice, it's multiple that need to be fixed, that this project's going to kind of assist and take care of and improve the situations so that they can be successful in the future. Another way we wanted to connect this idea was with our own personal experience. And I'm from Pickerington, which is a suburb of Columbus, and I went to Capital University last year, which is in Bexley. It's a more affluent neighborhood. During the pandemic, when the schools shut down and online learning took place, they had the option to still receive the school lunches. And there's a comparison of Columbus City schools. They were given just processed fruit and vegetables, packaged meat with lots of preservatives, not really the healthiest option. And then in Bexley, they had chicken, broccoli, rice, and a much more balanced, nutritious meal. Both of these school districts receive federal aid for the free lunches to be passed out. It just goes to show the difference because these school districts are right next to each other. It's crazy to see the difference, even what a mile can make of where you live and how that can impact your education and your accessibility to healthier food options. For people who don't have a lot of like financial flexibility with food, the not as healthy food is sometimes their only option.
That's why like this racial program is so important, because it's going to improve upon our society through those little things, just providing the right meals and providing the right housing that every human being should be able to be accustomed to. That my dad, he's a school psychologist, he worked for years in Bedford. There is multiple different groups of economics, and there's different towns that feed into one high school, and there's lower income housing where these students are being bused versus other students can drive their own cars to school. And for years he just was blown away by the differences between how people grow up and then connect with each other at the same school. And those connections that you make and the friends you meet, even though you're very different, you come together for that one shared activity during the day of like 7 hours a day for so many years of your life. I just think he kind of showed me how many people open their eyes to the world around them and even just the towns around them of how different they are.
My grandpa also worked in a local school district as a school psychiatrist, and he worked in a community where most of the people were living at below poverty, and the struggles that they faced were heartbreaking. And starting from a young age, like I realized like how fortunate I was, and like not everyone has that experience, and like they don't get that. And it just made me very thankful for like my opportunities and what I do have,
No,
because
and I definitely think that because of our experiences as children and being influenced and not being sheltered by our surroundings, we'll at least be able to take action and influence our friends to do the same. And even though, like, this program, Racial Equity 2030, is going to take 10 years to even see an ounce of impact, right now we can do so much more with our actions too, and our words, and who we influence, kind of thing too. And just taking from our personal experiences growing up, we'll use that to better our society slowly and surely.
If you see something, say something. Like if you see something that's not right and you feel like you should speak up and say like that's not okay, like that's not something you say or you do, or that's not how you treat someone.
Yeah, speak up, stand out. If you know something isn't right, stand up for your beliefs, protest it, go out and fight for what you believe in. Like all the money that is being given to these organizations. And I know these organizations are gonna be, have been doing, and will continue to do great work of fostering new programs and education and things, but us fighting and standing out, kind of thing, and saying our beliefs too, is going to be what influences society more. We're still going to be changing the minds of others and influencing our society, kind of integrating what they'll do with the money as individuals.